Right. Welcome to the Grizzled Geologist Podcast. I'm Keith Carden. I'm your host. I'm here with Robert Bo McCue today from Raptor Consulting, and we're going to talk about the kind of geosteering state of the mudlogging business and kind of get into some really interesting and I think very relevant topics. But before we get going, thank you for coming on. Make sure you visit my website, the Grizzled Geologist. Or really, the easiest way to reach out to me is just on LinkedIn or via email. I'm looking for guests. Things are starting to move in my life, but we're still staying busy with this podcast. I'm looking forward to some really big updates coming up. Don't forget, I'm going to have a booth at the AAPG Mid-Continent Sectional. And I'm also thinking about going to Image here at the end of the month. So actually, if anybody has thoughts on that, in fact, Bo, are you going to Image this year?
I will not be there, but okay. Our sales rep will be down there.
You're going to have somebody there. Cool. Well, anyway, everybody just feel free to reach out. I will get back to you. We've got a long list of people that we've signed up, but we've got room for everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe. And Bo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Keith. I appreciate it. I know we kind of got pushed back a little bit due to scheduling delays, but I'm glad I can get back into town and we can get this taken care of.
Oh, man, I'm really excited to have you on. And, we had a pretty in-depth conversation the first time we talked. And, I turned out feeling very impressed and a little bit ashamed about some stuff. And, I'm serious. I really did provoke some thought because, most of, my entire career, I've been on the operator side for the most part, especially when it comes to operations. And over the last little bit is when I really learned about the financial aspects of it. There's a big difference between working for a company and, riding the tides of unemployment and oil and gas cycles, and the difference of, actually being owner in a company and understanding how the money is deployed and how it all ends up at the end. I think that you and I present a really good dynamic here, to be honest with you. We've both got outgoing personalities and a vast experience in this field. And in terms of my use of the types of services that you provide and the types of services that you've provided to people like me. So why don't you just introduce yourself? Like I say, I've been very impressed with you. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Bo, how you got into geology, and then we'll get going into the serious stuff.
All right. Thanks, Keith. My name's Robert Bo McCue. Most of you that know me, I go by Bo. I do try to go by Robert mostly with work, primarily because my sales guy's name is also Bo.
Oh, great.
So, we got to kind of distinguish the two of us. But, I got into this back in 2006 is when I graduated from Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I got my degree in geology. I worked for a small independent company for just shy of a year. We primarily did shallow vertical wells in Eastern Kentucky, gas plays. My job was pretty much pulling well log data off of the KGS website. Sorry, my phone was ringing.
That's okay. It happens.
So let me text somebody real quick so we can I can move on with that. But, it started out like just collecting well log data and creating maps and subsurface maps. This is back we were using Surfer 8. I don't know if you recall that program based off.
For my grizzled beard, you may be able to tell that I know the old software.
I think.
Me too.
I don't. A lot of people say I have a very young face. My dad does too. I'm actually 46 years old.
No, we're the same age.
So, I've been in the industry for, coming up on 19 years. I literally started working for that company. I graduated on a Saturday and started working for that company on a Monday, the very next Monday. And then I was going to go work some offshore stuff for Baker Hughes, and that kind of fell through. So, I kind of actually mowed yards for a summer and then started working in North Dakota for a company called Sunburst Consulting. They're an outfit that was based out of Billings, Montana. And I worked with them for quite a while, worked about 2 years up in the Williston Basin, and then the Marcellus started booming. And I came to Pittsburgh and opened up an office for them. And then in 2015, I traded in my shares and I started Raptor Consulting. So, we were primarily Appalachian Basin for the first 5 years of business. And then the last, in 2020, we were going to start spreading out. Of course, everybody knows what happened in 2020. So our plans got kind of delayed till 2021. have kind of grown a little bit. We're not a huge company, probably 30 employees, kind of spread all over. We've got work in Texas, New Mexico, North Dakota, of course, the Northeast and everywhere. Getting big into doing some carbon capture stuff. We've done a couple of wells this past year, and we've got quite a few wells that are coming up this year. So, it's been a interesting ride. 2015 was not a great time to start a business, especially service industry.
Yeah.
It's been
But it's rising from the ashes like that, the people that have success, get to enjoy it,
yeah.
the harder it
It's
is to start, the worse times, it makes the good times better.
It's definitely been one of those. I got a lot more gray hair now than I used to because of it. It's made me the man I am today, and the father and the husband I am today as well. Okay, I'm gonna actually try to turn my ringer off so that you're not hearing all of my jam bands and death metal.
Yeah, that's cool. I like you got them individualized too, so that's cool.
Yeah. My standard one is Sand by Fish, and then I got a couple of individualized ones.
Nice. I love it. Oh, that's cool, man. No, and it's good. You're busy and you're attentive to people's needs, dude. That's goes to show why you have a successful business, to be honest.
It is about, we have, we're a service company. It is about, I guess the blurriness went away, but either way,
it's okay. It's fine. Honestly, it'll track.
We are a service company, so you got to be on top of things. Service doesn't stop just because it's 2:00 in the morning. And I'm a pretty hands-on owner. Like I said before, certainly. I like to go out to the field from time to time. I still steer wells from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking at everything that's going on. I'm providing feedback to our employees, making sure that they have everything they need, providing to our vendors, our clients as well. There's been many nights I remember, especially early on, like working in the Marcellus, like getting a call from an operator at 2:00 in the morning, and all of us trying to figure out exactly where we are, what's going on, and how to get to what we need to do, and being on the phone until 4:00 in the morning, and then sleeping for about an hour and getting up and doing it all again.
Dude, I don't ever sleep, man. I just go on standby. Still,
if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. But I keep my ringer pretty loud so that if somebody calls me, it wakes me up. I
wake up the neighbors. Yep. I am a deep sleeper when I go out for sure, but no, it's a standby. And the thing is, I haven't, been steering for a year, but I still, wake up PTSD style. Like there's a 3:00 call coming,
Yeah. I have those crazy dreams like, oh God, we're on target. And then I wake up. Oh wait, never mind. I'm not steering well.
Yep. So, well, that's cool. So you guys started 2021. You've expanded out. You've got people, you're running in the Marcellus, kind of your home turf in a way. You're busy in the Bakken and the Permian, basically.
Yeah.
And looking to expand into Oklahoma, right?
We've done some wells in the eastern part of Oklahoma in the Arkoma, and then we've done some stuff. We also have some work down in South Texas and Eagleford, and then some stuff going on in East Texas. So we're kind of all over the place. We're not as well known. We're a smaller company. One thing we hear when we're reaching out to operators is I've never heard of you guys.
I've heard of you. I say that to people all the time.
It's it's not like we're a flashy company. We're not going to dropping thousands of dollars to exhibit at conferences or be sponsors of things like that. Although every time we do go to one of those, we always hear that we have the coolest logos.
I was going to say that, honestly, dude. I love your logo, man. It's really good.
When I was thinking of the naming this business, I was talking with a friend of mine and coming up with a couple of different ideas, and I kept thinking like Clastic Consulting. It just kind of was too tongue twister. So, we of course, as geologists, we all love dinosaurs and things like that. So just started running through, and I said Velociraptor, and he goes, "What about Raptor?" And it just kind of had a pop to it.
Ah, dude.
And the first thing I thought of was like a visualization of a dinosaur running through a formation and his tail leading up to the derrick. And that became our first logo. It kind of evolved a little bit into the smaller symbol that I have on my chest here. But, it's just always, as a kid,
you get it.
We're all dinosaur. Like we all love, most of us got into geology starting off by loving dinosaurs as like 4 and 5 year olds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and Jurassic Park came out in like a pretty formative age for people like you and I. Too.
Yeah. That was. I remember going to that. I had a hot date that night for that one.
Did you? Yeah.
It did not go well.
Yeah. Hey, some of them don't. Well, that's cool, man. Well, so we work in a pretty complicated and challenging business, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
we're running people out on these drill sites, and we're paying them money, and we've got things going on out there. You've got vendors driving down or getting costs driven down by operators. You've got people justifying, and we can get into this, laying down mud loggers on a lot of these things, while people like you and I believe that data is irreplaceable and should be on every well site. Why don't we get into the nuts and bolts here? And then at the end we'll do a little plug for Raptor, and don't forget you have to do words of wisdom.
So just kind of jumping into that, I mean, I do find that and I don't want to have this whole Jerry Maguire moment of laying my business down and everything, but I do think that there's just been a complete loss of what geology means to the industry. And, I mean, you have your operations geologist who is planning out these wells based off of the subsurface data they have. And, I mean, everybody's looking at ways to cut costs, from a standpoint of like mud logging as a whole has always been one of the cheapest options on location. I mean, I think we're honestly cheaper than the porta johns that get brought out to location, which is pretty sad to say.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that we should be charging a lot more for that. But, I mean, I always tell my employees the same thing. Like, if you miss a sample, that sample's gone forever. We can't catch it. You can't go back and catch a sample. And you can't go back and catch rock that you missed. Now, I think a lot of the reason that why people are dropping mud logging and things like that is due to, one, they don't see the value in it anymore. Two, a lot of their stuff that they're doing is infill, so they don't feel that they necessarily need somebody looking at the rock. And then three, they're just trying to cut costs. To me, cutting costs should not mean cutting, in my opinion, one of the most valuable services out there, because tools can fail, tools can be miscalibrated, but the one thing that never fails and never lies is the rock that's coming out of the hole.
Agreed.
It's plain and simple, I mean,
agreed.
And if you don't have somebody looking at that rock and a geologist looking at that rock, then you're doing a disservice to your well, because all data matters. Regardless of whether or not you're doing an infill well. I mean, we've all seen geology is not a homogeneous science. It changes and fluctuates, and it can change within 1,000 feet of a previous well. And if you don't have somebody out there looking at that stuff, you're going to miss out on it. And, I feel like the industry as a whole we've gotten a bad reputation. And a lot of that is due to the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of the oil industry, gas industry, I should say.
Which really, are you saying in the same breath that it's kind of a turnover problem?
It is definitely a turnover problem. Because we have these highs where all of a sudden all service companies, myself included, and all service companies, directional to every type of, we have to hire real quick to meet the need that is being asked of us. And sometimes you're not able to hire the most qualified people, because those most qualified people that have been doing this for years and years and years, they finally have gotten fed up with being laid off so many times because of how the industry is, that they have moved on to different things. It leads to hiring inexperienced, and I don't want to say uneducated, but just not degreed geologist on site. A lot of the kids, and I shouldn't call them kids, but a lot of the young adults that are coming out of college these days, they don't want to get into the field. They hear horror stories about things, and a lot of them expect to be able to go into an office job or start off remote geosteering immediately and things like that. And you need to have that time in the field to understand it's not just about the geology. Working as a Wellsite Geologist, mud logger, geosteer, you need to learn a lot about the engineering side of things and how all of this works, how the drilling rig works, to understand rock mechanics, and how to identify when you're having problems. And that only comes with time and being in the field and learning from the other people in the field. One of my favorite things about going out to the field is talking with the rig crew, talking with the directional hand, talking.
That's what I was going to say, is not just the ins and outs of the rig, but it's the dynamics between the people out there. The company man, who's the tool pusher. And what I found, and more now than ever, because I slot in a little bit different now. There's a few of us that can go and form these small teams. We're like special ops. The engineer can do all aspects of their craft, the geologist, and that's where I slide in. But more than ever, It is knowing the drillers and these engineers and maintaining those relationships that as a geologist or an ops geologist in particular, that is one of the most important things that these people can learn, because if they know how to communicate, how to not show the weakness or uncertainty, but be able to show that there are different potential paths that this can take,
Yep.
and how to communicate that to the people at the rig is a life skill in operations.
Yeah.
Straight up.
One thing that we teach our people is, I mean, of course, everybody teaches the communication between the ops geo, but I try to push more communication on site. And I'm not necessarily meaning like company men and things like that, which we do need to have that communication.
Yeah.
But I always tell like a new guy, I'm like, hey, find out who the Derek man is and make friends with him. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because if you make friends with him, he will help you anytime you need help with whatever's going on with your equipment. He will be glad to help you and feed those guys from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, if you bring food out to the rig, they're your best friends.
For
You know,
sure.
we have a bad stigma about like the mud logging and mud loggers in general, is that we're the weird guys that sit in the trailer and look at the rocks. Don't get out and communicate with people. They see us walking back and forth, or, you know, God forbid they see us just like once or twice a day. You know, get out and talk to the guys.
Yes.
You know, go talk to the driller on the rig floor. I mean, go sit up there and ask him about his job.
Yep.
Everybody loves to talk about the job that they do.
Yes.
And same goes with the rig crew. If you go and ask, like you ask the driller, man, hey, how do you do this? He'll be delighted to tell you. Now, there'll be times when he's like, hey, man, I need you to step back so I can do my job. But he'll be happy to talk to you if it's in a reasonable time. Like, you don't want to go up there while they're tripping out or something. But,
Yeah, right.
You know, when they're drilling,
you know,
if they're drilling and you got like 30 minutes to go talk to them, just be like, hey, man, I just want to learn more about what you guys do and understand it so that I can do my job better.
100%.
So, and I think what that also does is it builds the confidence of your employee to be able to go talk to those people like the company man and talk to the operations geologist, because you're working with like-minded people, and you can be intimidated by going and talk to a company man, especially the company men that are just,
they're tough.
Seem to be in a bad mood.
Yeah, hey, look, these are tough dudes running an expensive operation, and every eye is on that person.
Yeah.
The company to the people at the rig. And I respect those guys so much. Like, and again, like being kind of where I've landed in the whole big picture, you know, the people I need to be talking to are CEOs, company men, drilling managers, like that. Those are the people that I relate to more than my co-geologist at this point. You know, It's very important that those guys block me more than anything else. You know, I'm just being real. So anyhow, you're absolutely right in putting the communication at the forefront and getting to know not just the people, but what they do. Makes your decision as the mudlogger geosteer, you know, able to understand their needs and provide them better information.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think, and there's a better way of communicating with people. You know, from a geosteering standpoint, we always want to just like, hey, we need to come up now.
Yeah.
Or we need to do this now.
Right.
And that's not the proper way of being able to do things. It's like, hey, we need to be here. How can we get there and minimize dog legs and keep us, you know, and it's a tactful way of communicating. You know, I always like to say sometimes you almost have to inception people, where you kind of plant the idea in their head, let them come up with the game plan on how to do it. And then they feel like they've done the whole thing. And you're like, cool, I got what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's perfect. And that again plays into understanding the tools in the hole, how the drillers have to enact a change. You know, that's the other thing. You got to realize, hey, this information we're getting is 40 feet back from where the actual bit is right now. Yeah. It takes time to enact this plan, and there needs to be clear ways to tell them. And in my experience, and I'm not sure if it's probably operator to operator, but 0 VS targets for us were always a dead cover your ass statement. You know, like, here is a line. I don't care how you get there, but here is a 0 VS target line with a window above and below. I don't care what you do to get there. I don't care what it takes, but if you can get in there and we can communicate that clearly in a non, you know, verbally aggressive way, It just makes sense. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on target lines and those sorts of things?
I've steered with all different types, from the zero VS target line, like a target window, all the way to the end to that one. I'm not a huge fan of it. Just, I get it, like, because I'm not at zero VS. So I'm like,
Oh,
hey,
right.
why are we referencing this when we're
Yeah.
2000 VS feet out?
But that's
You
also
know,
doing the driller's needs because they do see it that way, right?
and sometimes it does work that way. It's and some directional drillers, they're like, hey, I just want a target window of where I am to plan line.
Well, I was going to tell you, Revolution, they hated zero. I didn't use it for 6 years. We just said, hey, slap it up 2 degrees, hold for this, with a rotary steerable. And that's, again, the different tools
Yeah,
make a
it
difference too.
depends on the tool that you're using. I'm a huge fan, and I don't like dropping names and promoting, but I love Baker's rotary steerable. I work
Me
with
too.
it quite a bit, and I love how it's able to really dial in. Schlumberger's got a good tool as well. I haven't used many of the other ones, but those two are, in my opinion, but they've always been the industry standards. Baker using Schlumberger, so it's not like I'm saying any big revelation or anything like that. But it does depend on the tool, because if you're using conventional tools, we can't really say, hey, I need to come up a half a degree.
Exactly.
They're not going to get a half a degree. They're either going to oversteer it or understeer it, and you're never going to get there. But with a target window with conventional tools, I think is a much more
I agree.
feasible
Yeah, I agree.
plan. But with those with the rotary steerables, hey, we need to go from a 92 to a 93. Okay. And they could do it without putting a huge dogleg in it. We have one client where I'm not gonna say their name, but like they're like, hey, as long as you don't go over a 13-degree dogleg, we're good. At 13 degree, most companies would be like, you can't do it.
Looking out.
Like, we
Right.
can't go over 2. I don't know how this company does it, but they're very efficient in what they do. And they're like, hey, as long as you don't go over a 13-degree dogleg, just make the decision and go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's always working with different companies. It always changes.
Yeah.
You got to be adaptable. You need to be able to know how to steer in all different methods, from inclination to target line to target window to zero VS to a target window. And there's like 3 different types of target windows you can run with. So you just have to be adaptable to it, and just know, like you said, most of the time, if you're lucky, you might have a rotary steerable where you're near the bit and you're like 13 feet behind the bit.
Right.
But geosteering is ultimately the kid sitting in the back of the station wagon, looking out the back, waving at the trucker, and telling their parents where to go ahead of them.
And the live streaming data is a nice little touch now.
It is.
But I was doing it anyways, just watching Topco, and yeah, and the truth is, the drilling engineers are really good at that. By the way,
and
just watching Topco and correlating in their head.
And azimuthal gamma ray is a great tool.
My favorite is resistivity, though.
We've only done a couple resistivity wells. A lot of people just don't want to spend the money on it, but
it's expensive. But
it is. We did a well in Colombia where we were drilling through this fluvial channel sand, and we used the resistivity tool on that, and it really worked out really well. And ultimately, we went from like about a 10-foot zone, and it just pinched down as we were going through this to where we were almost 2 feet at the end, and they ultimately had to call it there because it was so thin.
Yeah.
But it's a channel.
That's cost saving. Yeah, exactly. And being able to see that boundary and that pinch out, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, I have I have a quick resistivity story. It goes to the West Edmond Hunt and Line unit that we worked. It's right here in Oklahoma City. Like, I drilled a well directly under my house kind of thing. But we didn't run the resistivity tool all the time, but we kind of started to at the end, because we could literally just find the oil zone. Like, we'd get there, it'd be running 200-300 ohms. And all of a sudden it would like max out. Like the max was like 65,000 on the tool, and it would max out at 65,000. And the next thing you know, it would have oil coming over the shakers.
Yeah.
So we could literally use the resistivity to put us into the actual like high oil saturation zones. You can also see, obviously you can see this when it's getting, cause it's azimuthal. Yep. So you can see when it's above you, below you. That tool, I would say, and it depends on the reservoir, and it kind of comes back to this cost discussion that we're having. You don't really need that in, say, the Bakken, I don't think, but if you're in a conventional reservoir, these sandstones, you've got depletion and you have these other kind of factors that come in, a resistivity tool is going to be able to like actually put you into where the oil is.
Yeah.
And that's something special, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just not, from an economic standpoint, not all of these
plays.
It's not an economical option. Kind of talking about the economics. You and I had talked before, and I feel that part of the problem that we've had as an industry as a whole from the Wellsite Geology, mud logging, geosteering side is that we have devalued ourselves to the point where it's I don't want to say that people just don't take it seriously because of it, but like when you're charging $900 a day for mud logging services, you're giving your services away, and you're not paying your people well enough. I mean, I think for the most part, it's a very highly competitive industry as a whole, like not just our side of things, like the entire industry as a whole.
Yes. And I'm guilty of it. You saw my interview with Mike Wood probably, and I've been in long, drawn out, whittling him down arguments for a month, on price. So, and it goes both ways, but and I want to let you finish, but there's a big difference between like the big companies and smaller people in terms of, how the economics really play out and who the money's actually going to. So should we care anyway? But go ahead.
I get to the point. I mean, but the thing that I've always looked at from our industry, I mean, a lot of other industries have gone into to unionizing. The one industry that never has is the oil and gas industry, and it's always been because the people got paid so well. But it's over the years that dollar amount has gone down. I mean, I remember when I first started in 2007, I was making $500 a day. And it well should have been, and back then we were doing logging and steering on site, and, you're doing both jobs. I mean, so you were doing what needed to be done. But, over the downturns, it's always been, hey, we need you to drop your rate 20%. And then it boosts back up a little bit. And like, you're never able to bring your price back up to what it should have been. And then you get another downturn. We need you to drop another 20%. I mean, I'm now looking at where I'm probably 50% lower than what I should be charging.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of like, do I think my service is better than another competitor's services? No, but what I look at it as is I want my people to be getting paid more than the person that's working at Target or more than the person that's working at Five Guys getting $16 an hour. I want them making good money. I want it to be a livable wage and not fair. Just livable. I want them to be able to save money. Provide them with benefits. And that only comes when you're able to charge a little more. We are, in my opinion, we are a valuable service. I mean, in geosteering, I think geosteering is an art. It's not.
Oh, sure. It's the most important job in the entire oil company. Let's be real.
And you've got companies giving it away at $350 a day.
Right.
I think we should be charging like $1,000 a day, and you should only be steering one well. Make it a dedicated thing. I mean, I think that
it is so important.
The tools that we have now with these geosteering softwares, there's so many things that we can do with like Python scripts and put things in and modeling with these that we are letting so much data go by because we are too focused on let's get this gamma match, let's get our interpretation out, let's send them out an update and move on to the third and fourth well that I'm steering at the same time.
Yeah.
If we were able to dedicate having you like one person that's steering this well, you could take so much of that EDR data that we're bringing in and be able to correlate it more with what's going on in the wellbore and become a more valuable service to the engineering side of things.
Yes.
Not just the geology side of things.
You hit some very good points. You're right. It's making the information that you can provide valuable to engineers. Okay, that's a very important thing. I wanted to say another thing, and I said this on Matt Hill's podcast the other day. I think it's coming out soon. But there are two things that determine the entire fate of every single oil company out there. The first thing is the quality of the rock underneath our feet. Okay, if you don't have a high quality rock, if you don't have the right reservoir, you're upside down.
Yep.
And the second most important thing to an oil company, and it's just as good and just as important, is their ability to stay in the right rock that is down there. If you if you don't have the right rock and you can't stay in it, you don't have an oil company or you have a really shitty one. And so, devaluing geosteerers in particular is bad for these companies. And the same thing goes for the mud logging. And I had one last point that I wanted to add here, because listen, after our conversation, I'm guilty of running one-man crews at time on mud logging in my career. It doesn't happen anymore.
Me, I will not take those jobs.
No, and you don't have to, and you shouldn't.
No, because To me, it's more of a safety concern. The big thing is that everybody always touts, with no matter what company you're at, operator you're working for, they always tout safety, but yet they will quickly cut and say, hey, we just want a one-man mudlogging crew. Legally, you're not allowed to work somebody more than 16 hours in a day.
Right.
So if you have somebody that's working a pretty much a 24-hour, they're on call 24 hours a day. They're not getting good sleep. They have to get up and catch these samples and go look at this stuff. They are sleep deprived. They're walking across location. It is a very dangerous situation. And we're not talking like danger, oh, I'm going to get a paper cut. We're talking about life detrimental danger. And to devalue somebody's life that way is not something that I would condone.
No, I agree. And again, this was kind of the tail end of some old schoolers and some old school methods, and people have been doing it for 50 years. In retrospect and understanding the truth of things, and I wanted to get into my little last point, then let you go, is that, yes, we need to value these people better. And when it comes to this, I do agree on having better pay. Like that is the main thing. We have these technical people out there making less than the person at Target, like you mentioned. And overall, so here's the deal. We all understand the implications of unionization and the drawbacks and all that, but we also understand the upside of protecting the people. Yeah. And so what really needs to happen, in my opinion, is an industry-wide conversation about taking care of our own without them having to do something like unionize. Exactly. Because when you start there, you start with unionizing, then you stop progress. You stop, I did a little bit of work in Argentina. They can't get a damn well drilled because the truckers are unionized and won't haul the water out there. So you want to start stopping oil and gas production, you can do that. But what we need to do as an industry overall is start sitting around and looking at these types of things. These are the people that are a part of our overall oil and gas family. They stand to benefit. We stand to benefit by having this conversation where we talk about fair rates. People are getting the $1,000 a day that you're talking about. But when you're in a competitive area, like let's just say the Permian Basin, there's 20 of you that are in there, and the most desperate Joe can go in there at $350 a day, even though they know they're going to end up in the red, tits up, and not be able to run their business properly. Or
their people are going to be stretched so thin that they're steering 10 wells at a time.
And I'll let you take it from here. I got my little soapbox out there, but I get it, dude. I get it. I want these people paid well. I want it to be fair.
It just needs, like you said, we need to look at it from a standpoint of taking care of our own. I read an awesome article a few weeks ago, and it was about the loss of skilled labor and workers in the oil and gas industry. And it goes to the point of, when the downs hit, everybody gets laid off, and we've all gone through them. I mean, I think I've seen 6 in my
same as me
19-year career.
Yep.
Some of them worse than others. Some of the rebounds come in and they're better. But we're still, we should not, I don't know how to say this without really putting a target on my back and making me sound stupid, but I'm going to say it. Sometimes profit to the shareholders is not as important as taking care of the people who take care of you. These operators, I get that you are beholden to your shareholders. I get that you should be making money for your shareholders. But when you're producing $550 million of profit, but yet all the service companies you're using are showing red for the same quarter, that's not right.
I agree.
Because you're making money off the blood, sweat, and tears of the people who are really doing the work for you.
I think we're onto something that's an industry-wide conversation that needs to be had.
It needs to have that discussion, and it needs to come from the top people.
Yep.
It can't come from me, the small little service company, mud logging company that people don't take serious because they think I'm just another mud logging company out there. I'm not. I've seen, and the reason why
I take you seriously, dude.
The reason why I bring the passion of what I say to this is because I have been there. I've started from the ground up and I worked my way up to where I am. I didn't get lucky by handouts. I busted my butt to get to where I am, and I still bust my butt to this day. But the difference is what I do today now compared to what I did back then is totally different. Today, I am focused on my employees, and I hate saying, they always say, well, don't say that your business family. I look at it as all my employees, and I don't want to make it sound, or my children.
It's a
I
fine
want-
line on this family company theme,
Yeah,
but I understand what you're saying, dude.
I don't expect them to have that, but I look at it that way.
Right.
I sleep well at night when I know my employees are being paid well, they're being taken care of, they've got good medical benefits, they've got retirement plans they can set up with. I can pay them per diem, I can pay them mileage, I can pay them oil-based mud, and know that they're able to take care of their family. That's the only thing I care about. And I do that to the detriment of the profit of my company.
Yes.
Because I will pay my people more so that I have more dedication. You want to talk about the biggest downfall of service companies, it's the constant revolving door of different loggers or different geosteers coming onto your project. And the only way to stop that is to retain your employees. The only way to retain your employees is to give them good livable wages. The only way to give them good livable wages is for operators to understand that they want the same dedicated team. You have to pay for that.
Yes.
If you say that you want a dedicated team, and I hear it all the time, well, we don't want a different team, but your price is coming right in line. Well, if you want me to give you a dedicated team, I'm going to have to charge you an additional $200 a day so that I can make sure that I'm paying those guys what they need to make to stay in your job. Well,
and they're clearly doing something right too. They're clearly doing something right.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second, like you say you want this, but yet you're concerned, like you say my competitor will charge X amount of dollars less, but you're tired of that revolving door. Which one do you want? Do you want to fix the problem of constantly having the revolving door, or do you want to pay a little bit extra, get a more dedicated team that's always going to be there for you? Now, people have PTO. People need time off. The one thing that I installed in our company is, a good PTO policy. After 6 months, you get 40 hours of PTO. After a year, you get 80 hours of PTO. After 3 years, you get 120 hours of PTO. After 5 years, you get 160 hours of PTO. That's 4 weeks off. That's more than a lot of these operating companies are giving.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
2.5, 3 weeks would be a standard like mid-range employee.
Yeah. But to me, it's giving back to the employees and allowing them that, I tell them, hey,
I believe in that. And it does boil down to the altruistic ownership. Again, there's reasons people have grouped together to protect themselves and their upward growth. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to the people at the top and how much of their piece is willing to be carved off to keep the people that have supported them in a position of growth. So I agree with you on all this. That's why I've been bugging you to come on, because you're talking about the real nuts and bolts here. This is people. That's what this is about for me. This isn't my stupid, look at me. This is about talking about industry issues and getting people on that are living it. So I appreciate that.
I would just like everybody to look from a service standpoint of, let's go pre-2015, because that's when all of this really started, was around 2015. Pre-2015, look at the numbers you were doing. Let's say you were charging back in, we'll say 2013. Look at how much you were charging back in 2013 to look at how much you're charging right now, and tell me that you're not about 40 to 50% less of what you were charging back then.
And look at the inflation.
So our pricing has gone down, inflation has gone up. Wages for our employees have stagnated to the point where I get people contacting me to come work for me because they hear I pay better, they hear I pay more per diem and things like that. And I asked them, well, how much are you making? They were like, well, I'm making like $14 an hour, getting like $25 a day per diem. I'm like, do you get paid mileage? No. And I'm like, well, that's that's wrong. Like you're getting, like, I would not do this job. You couldn't pay me like that. You would not. I would not do it for that amount of money. Like I said, I came from, if I'm doing a job, if I do some consulting work for people, I'm charging them $500 a day because that's what I'm worth, in my opinion. Whether or not you agree with me or not is another thing, but you don't have to work with me because I do other consulting, not just mud logging. Right. So, if you ask me to do a job for you and you're asking me, I'm charging you at least $500 for my service. That doesn't mean on top of what my company's going to charge, because, I'm going to mark up because my company's
you need to. You have to. Right. You have to.
So, I think we just need to get back to taking care of the people. And, and that, like I said, when we talked on the phone, that goes for the entire country. I don't think raising minimum wage is the right way of doing it. I think we just need to get back to, we need to take care of our people and make sure that they're taken care of. Raising minimum wage, in my opinion, just raises the cost of everything else because everybody's got to offset that. But, regardless of where you stand on that, you should always be working forward and trying to improve yourself. So, if you're working at a grocery store and they're only paying minimum wage, if you're, you make that decision to do that, but you should work your way up. Try to get yourself into a higher paying job, $10, $20 an hour. Those things move up, but it's done off of your initiative and how you push yourself forward. And that goes for any job that you ever go to. You get what you put in, and you don't get, things aren't just handed to you, and I hate saying that. I'm not trying to get political on this, but that's the way I was raised. Now I'm a Gen Xer, so it's, we were instilled, you work hard and you get the reward.
Exactly. And like, I tell this to people, I have 3 tenets I live by. It's honesty, fairness, and hard work. Those things are going to get you going. Those are going to put you in positions that you need to be in.
It allows me to have, like, my ethics allow me to sleep well at night.
Yeah.
And honesty, integrity, and hard work are cornerstones to that.
It's all there is, and how you can live those things, But what I was going to say, one little last thing, and then I think about your words of wisdom, because I've really liked this conversation. But at the end of the day, and we had already kind of said it, what it really boils down to is the willingness of the actual shareholders to see this discrepancy and be willing to let that trickle down to the rest of the people. And do human beings have that in them? I don't know.
It kind of reminds me of the movie Mr. Deeds with Adam Sandler at the end of it, when he goes into the shareholders meeting and he makes the big announcement to the whole shareholders group, like, hey, are we really going to put 50,000 people out of work just so you can make an extra buck?
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're all looking at a way to make more money to better our lives, but at the cost of what,
Well, hopefully we have a pathway with little things like this where we can start having our voices heard in a non-threatening way, and people will be able to think about it.
And I, like I said, I don't want to be the Jerry Maguire of the group, because I know a lot of my colleagues, I'll say, not competitors, colleagues. I know they all think the same way, but we're all looking at a way to keep our people employed and keep them working. But, if we just keep slashing price just to get the work, at some point, you're not even going to be able to pay these people minimum.
No, you're going to end up in the red. There's some real cost situations here. And listen, I really am. I'm proud to have met you. Thank you for reaching out to come on the show. How did you hear about it? You just saw it on LinkedIn or something?
Bo, my sales guy, showed it to me, and I watched a couple episodes of it, and he was like, man, you ought to do that. And so reached out and was like, all right.
I love it.
So, it's
well, this podcast is working, man.
Yeah.
It's doing stuff.
I've watched some of your recent episodes. It's good I like the one that you had where I think it was a company man that you had on there.
Yeah. Matt Leverett.
It's good to talk. It's good to hear from those guys. Because a lot of them, we don't know what all they do on a regular basis. I mean, to me, sometimes it just looks like, hey, they're there to sign a check or a ticket, but there's a lot more that they do, and they're a key component to everything. I think that what my goal would be is to get everybody's outlook on. I hate calling it mudlogging because it should be Wellsite Geology, because that's what it is.
I agree that, hey, listen, what we call stuff makes a difference in people's.
It is. It does. I don't like, honestly, when somebody calls me a mudlogger, I'm like, I'm not a mudlogger. I'm a geologist. I have my degree in geology, and I got it for a reason.
And you should be proud of that. I'm kind of with you on this.
But I think how a lot of people look at the Wellsite geologist, we need to change that look. Like, I've literally have gone to a job site and been like, well, we don't even want you out here. Like, why are you here? And I'm like, I was hired to do a job, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'll try my best. He's like, it's like, well, you're messing up my AFE. And I'm like, again, I was hired to do a job. Like, I'm not trying to just screw things up for you. I'm just here to do the job that I was hired to do. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to communicate with you, and I'm going to let you know. And, I've had a lot of company men who have, once we've worked with them and proved ourselves to them, their attitude towards us is completely changed.
Dude, you have to prove yourself to them, but once you do, the door is open, and they become wonderful friends, really.
I had a great one. I can't remember.
Matt Leverett is a close friend of mine. I love that guy.
I can't remember his name, but I think it was Rick Manziel, I think, was a company man I had back in like 2008. He and I...
That's our rookie season there, buddy.
Yeah, he and I became really good friends on location. And, it got to the point where we would sit there and bicker at each other, and then he'd go make me an Egg McMuffin.
I love
And
it.
so, it was
Yep.
one of those relationships. Like, we kept in touch for many years after. I haven't talked to him in probably, I don't know, probably like 5 or 6 years, but
Yeah, but you'll just pick it right back up where you
oh
left
yeah,
off.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, it's just one of those guys that's just unforgettable. But I mean, a lot of it is we need to make sure. The thing I've heard, and this is coming from company men, is like end directional hands and MWDs is like every time we've gone out to a job site, they're like, man, you guys are a lot different than the last guys we had. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, well, dude, they'd fill up a bucket and then I wouldn't see them for the rest of the day. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, no, absolutely not. Like, our job is to look at the rock.
Every time. Yep.
It doesn't matter how busy you are, how quickly you got to run back and forth. You grab that sample because you can't miss a sample. I think that's the stigma that we have to get past. And the way to get past that is we got to stop hiring these people that just don't do the job and just don't understand the job. You need people that are passionate about it, not people that are just here for a paycheck.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. Well, and we're getting pretty close here. Honestly, those are such good words of wisdom already. You really have brought some stuff that I think it's been time to make it out here in terms of where the industry sits and kind of the geologic service companies, because it affects people near and dear to us. Why don't you give us some quick words of wisdom? Give yourself a little bump for Raptor, which you've done a very good job this episode in terms of your character and integrity. Maybe just talk about your website, how people can get in touch with you, and then we'll wrap it up.
I mean, to get in touch with us, the easiest way, if you could check out our website, it's just raptorconsulting.com.
Easy.
Very simple, to the point. We offer quite a bit of few services. We're actually going to be revamping things over the next few months. We've got some new services that we're going to be bringing out, some new consultants that we're bringing on board. You don't just look at us as a mud logging company or a Wellsite Geology company. I don't really have words of wisdom. The only thing I would suggest is that from the Wellsite Geology, Geosteering, mud logging side of the industry, we all need to look at what we're really charging, and we need to increase those rates so that we can pay our people what needs to be paid. Stop putting so much stress on them that they're steering 8 wells at a time. Make these guys that are in the field, get them per diem, get them paid what they need to get paid. I mean, it's not always about like how we can line our pockets. It's about how we can take care of our employees. Yeah. That's the number one thing that needs to be taken care of. If you don't take care of your employees don't take care of your clients. Your employees don't take care of your clients, you're going to lose the work. And guess what? I'm going to come in and scoop it up.
No, that's great. And Bo, listen, I'm honored that you reached out and were willing to come on the show. It's people like you that make this industry turn. I really am grateful. I look forward to being in touch with you over the years.
Yeah,
and,
let's stay.
Maybe one of these days we'll spin you up on one of my wells,
Yeah, maybe so. Hopefully I can make it down to Oklahoma at some point. We can go grab some lunch or something and catch up.
We'll come to the AAPG deal in October. That one's worth it, and I
might actually look at doing that. I did that.
That one's worth it. Don't get a booth or anything, but come and hang out, dude. We'll shoot another podcast while you're there at the show if you want.
All right.
So
sounds good. All right. Well, thanks.
All right.
I appreciate it, man.
No problem. Hey, and to everybody else, this is the Grizzled Geologist. Make sure you go to my YouTube channel, LinkedIn, hit me up. Please come on the show. Hit the like, subscribe. Just pay attention, and there's big things coming soon. And to all of you service companies out there, please hit me up. Come on my show. See ya.
Thanks, Keith.
Bye now.
You have to work for it. Don't be crazy. And work for your money.